Happy football season, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and Mac Lane podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and Mac Lane. It's finally time, Mac. We're talking about Miami.
Come on.
And it's another year. I mean this with love, Miami fans. It's another year where the Miami hype train has left the station. However, Mac, is this, I think it is, the best roster Miami has had in 2 decades?
Yes.
I think so. I think that's
Yes.
where we are. This is, to me, the best roster top to bottom in the ACC. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're still introing the episode, but we both are buying into this Miami hype.
No, 10,000%. I mean, it's you look at that roster, you talk about the roster. I mean, we're talking about since the early 2000s, since we're talking about national championship.
Mac, by the way, that's 20 years.
Yeah, 2 decades. It's a decade, 10 years. Quick math.
Yes.
100. I'm with you. No question. And I think that when you talk to Coach Cristobal, and we're about to here in a second, you're going to hear from him. Like, he wants that expectation. That's why he came to Miami to do this. And I think, quite frankly, we finally are at a team that looks like a Mario Cristobal team. And it's taken a couple years, whatever he's been building and molding, and here we are. Now you got to go win. Now all this BS, when I get on radio shows and I hear about, well, can he coach? Yeah, he can coach. Okay. He's one of the best coaches in America. That's what the guy does. Okay. He's one of the best. Rose Bowls after Rose Bowls after, just what they do. And now it's time to do it at Miami. And he's going to have a team that has an unbelievably great shot to do that, KG. And I'm excited to talk to him today.
He was a great interview. I do have to put out a disclaimer and apologize.
I forgot about this.
To the entire country of Cuba.
Sure do.
Because what I did is I wanted to talk to Mario about his Cuban coffee. I love coffee. I'm very interested. I wanted to pay my respects to the Cuban coffee. And I tried to bring it up. And I said Colombian coffee. And it was probably the most embarrassing moment of my life.
Just wait.
So just get ready for that. If you are ready to cringe in your car or on YouTube, I'm excited for you. I explain why I made my mistake, but it really doesn't matter. So without further ado, Mac, let's get to Mario Cristobal and the most embarrassing moment of my life.
Let me just say this real quick. If you're just listening, get to YouTube and find this. You have got to see Coach Cristobal's face. All right, here we go.
At Ingles, we know your closest companions are the ones who are always there for you. The ones you trust to have your back, no matter what. Who make the hard times a little softer. And the good ones, somehow, a little better. That's what family is all about. Whether they walk on 2 legs or 4. Ingles, all the ingredients for family.
Coach Cristobal, welcome back to the show, brother. Great to see you. We were just talking a little bit earlier about how June has somehow become the busiest month of football, and we've talked to a bunch of different coaches. They echo the same sentiment. How's it been? How are you? And great to see you.
Great to see you. Thank you for having me. Obviously, it's great to connect with you guys again. It's been an awesome offseason, starting with landing the best class in our program's history, and then rolling right into the offseason and spring ball, and then following that up with a great portal season into formulating what we feel is a team that has the right combination of veteran leadership and some young talent, high-level talent. And now that we head into the summer and our leadership council is elected and we're full throttle in player-led workouts and their so-called OTAs and what they do and skill instruction, we head into our official visit weekends, which we've had two more coming up, and then getting ahead because, we got opponents coming up here in August, September, and the rest of the way through, and we want to make sure we're ahead on that while we prepare for the changes coming up in 25 and 26. It's just a casual month of June, man,
Yeah, that sounds busy, Coach. When you say great portal class, I think that's a little bit of an understatement, so we'll get to that. But I'm a big coffee person. Mac doesn't drink coffee. Judge him as you will, Coach. I saw your video with Josh Pate, who we just had on our podcast, and we asked him about this. And you were doing the shots of the Colombian coffee. I need to know more about this. And Cuban. Oh my gosh, Coach.
Oh, Coach, don't log off. Coach, don't log off.
I'm out. Cardinal.
Coach, I'm gonna edit that. Here's the problem. I was drinking this and it says La Colombe on this, so that's what got me.
We'll talk after the show.
Oh, Coach, I'm so sorry. The Cuban coffee, please correct me. I deserve that.
Okay.
And I just want to know how many you've had today. That's my main question.
Oh no, I go normal. I mean, unfortunately, like we're unbeknownst to us as kids, it's like part of our breakfast.
Yeah.
Milk. So when your teachers are calling your parents and wondering why, your son's the only one that can't take a nap and has got to bounce off the walls during nap hour, it all makes sense now. So now for me, I'm normal. I think the problem is, these guys in the staff room, in the building, they like it. So,
Yeah.
I charge them, about $1.50
Smart.
for
Easily.
what good way to supplement NIL.
That's right. Add to the fun.
Love
Add it
it.
straight to the fun. I love that, Coach. Well, there's no other way that I could think of starting this show when we start talking about football than up front in the big nasties. And every time I see you, I get more excited about these guys because I think this starting five has a real shot, to be a special unit. And quite frankly, I think they can be the differentiator of good to great, for this year and for this program. Am I on track with that? Have you seen that similar thing in spring and going into summer?
I think so. I mean, more than anybody what it looks like up front, and humbly and quietly, we're fired up in a big time way, and it's because not only the body types and the development and recruiting and whatnot has really brought this into reality, but man, they get after it, and then you see just a chance. I'm looking at our chart right now, and the guys are going to be playing, and it's just competitive across the board. I mean, you could say that you enter the fall with everyone still having to compete because we've got really, really good players, and they're hungry. And you know what? They brought in that tight end room, and they've impacted the running backs as well, where those guys spend a lot of time together, and they see themselves as part of, like the adopted O-line unit as well. So all in all, just got to continue just banging away at the weight room, at flexibility, mobility, short area quickness, and balance and body control. But you see some really impressive gains by our guys, and an appetite to just keep getting better.
I know Mac loves to hear that. You can see the smile on his face, Coach. And when I mentioned earlier the great transfer portal class, I think we've got to start here with Cam Ward. We have heard the discussions from everybody. I mean, everybody is talking about this guy, all of our summer guests that we've had on. Can you just walk us through a little bit of that process? Because I know he was looking at going pro, but then seems like he got an opportunity at Miami that he couldn't turn down. And just what have you seen from him so far in a Miami uniform?
Yeah, it was a crazy process. It's kind of well documented, but not thoroughly well documented. I mean, he had a lot of options, and then he had the NFL option, and he felt really comfortable with that. And we felt it was right. We felt on the visit, this is a really good connection, and we felt that both parties could benefit from it. It was a lot like a situation we had a few years back with a great quarterback in Justin Herbert, where one more year and leading a team and leading a breakthrough could be invaluable for that person's career. And so, at the upteenth hour, he ends up calling and joining the Miami Hurricanes. And what that thing sparked was a slew of just really high level commitments and more talented, hardworking guys coming to the program. And then his presence, this will put it in perspective. Leadership Council is voted by the players completely. It's a coach exempt process. And he received the most votes. I mean, he was the highest. And that's, again, when your peers regard you or have that much of strong feelings for your type of leadership, what you bring to the table, it speaks volumes. And he hasn't disappointed. In fact, he's exceeded expectations, and he allows himself to be pushed. He wants to be a lead, and he has no problems getting challenged.
It's what you need, right? At that position that takes on so much on, off the field, during the game, all these different things. That's exceptional to hear that. And that's what we've heard from everybody else, but it's even better to hear it from you who's around him every single day and see that. One thing that I'm always interested in, Coach, because you work so hard at this thing, and not that others don't, but we understand differences and things of that nature. When you get that call from that caliber of guy, I mean, what does that feel like? What does that do for you? I can't replicate. I've never done that. I've never recruited anybody. But what is that like when you get that call?
It's a tremendous rush because if you've invested that much time in somebody, you have conviction he can help elevate the program, but you also have conviction you can elevate their future. So it becomes a great partnership. You know what I mean? And it also, and you quickly turn the page. It's like, all right, where's the next
Yeah.
piece? It just builds upon itself. So it's kind of like a game, right? You quickly shrug it off and you move on to add on to that. If not, you're just wasting it. And it just happens that all of our jobs that we've taken on, albeit
Mm,
one, it's been a
right.
rebuild. And so, like, talent acquisition was at the forefront of all that,
Hmm.
at the coaching level, analyst level,
Sure.
volunteer level, certainly the player level. So that's why our appetite for that, like, we have a very clear vision of, hey, if we don't change what that
Mm,
looks like, no matter what you drop, it's not
yeah.
going to work.
Yeah.
So that's why there's such an emphasis on getting after it and getting after it
Yeah,
the
and,
right
and
way.
I think that leads me exactly where I wanted to go next. You talk about that look and what it should be and what you think it should be and how it should look there. The running back room, I mean, my goodness. And especially when you add a guy like Damian to already having a monster like Mark Fletcher, those are big, nasty dudes. That's what I think about when I think Miami football, that smash mouth run game to go into in addition with that offensive line. What can we expect to see from them this fall? And I know there's others as well.
No, it's again, that part of the roster, like, really, like, the entire, is just getting better. It's progressing. Certainly not to all the way where we want it, but it's come a long, long way. And that position has speed, power, the ability to make you miss, the ability to create chunk plays, the ability to get the tough yards as well. And they're all very different. I mean, a guy like AJ Allen, he comes to us, and he comes to us with, he had a shoulder which he had never dealt with, and played through a season with it so he could get it repaired after. And he has, and he looks awesome right now. You got Damian coming in, you got Mark Fletcher, coming back. Chris Johnson's had a phenomenal spring. And then Jordan Lyle is for the most part, regarded as the best back, one of the best backs in the country as a freshman. And he hasn't disappointed. That guy's special now. That guy's thick and powerful and great balance. He's just never on the ground. So it's a great combination to run behind this offensive line. And you know what what's kind of neat for us is those are a lot of veterans at a lot of positions where, as we play in a lot of tough environments in this upcoming season. You want a veteran center, you want a veteran quarterback, you want a veteran tight end, wide receiver. You like to have veterans everywhere, and we really improved that on our roster. And they're willing to work. That's the best part about it. We all know that we have a lot of work to do, and we're all excited about the potential of this team and fulfilling that potential. So the offseason's been off. It's gotten off to a great, great start.
You speak about veterans. A guy that's been with you for a couple years now is Xavier Restrepo, and he just feels like he's been just such a steady hand for this team over the past couple of years. How has he been looking from a leadership standpoint, and he been leading that wide receiver room?
Excellent. He's a member of the Leadership Council, also highly regarded by his teammates. He's always working his craft. And then he also works the community as well. He just had a camp with I think he had 250 campers
Wow.
or
Come
whatnot. I
on.
mean, I'm like, hey, man, you're cutting into our business, man. You better fill it out. So, but yeah, he certainly is he's worked himself into being a great football player, and he knows that he, like everybody else, has to keep getting better for us to achieve our goals. I like the way the dynamic of him and Cam. Cam pushes him
Wow.
hard. Cam's a no nonsense guy, and Cam is equally pushed by the offensive lineman and the other. It's a really neat dynamic that I'm excited to see this thing play out in the summer as all these alphas get together and making it work so we're all pushing in the same
Mhm.
direction. That's what you recruit them
Right.
for, right? You get them here to make sure you can provide the best everything for them, and then get them playing together. And so far, and what's neat is, again, coordinators in their second year allow for the transition. There's a lot of familiarity with scheme and the guys that we have brought in the portal, not to mention our returning veterans.
We know about Restrepo as we talked about there. Give us a few other names in the wide receiver room that you're excited about, Coach.
Well, the guy that really showed some great flashes last year and some big playability, Jacoby George. And I think he has taken the accountability of a guy trying to take that next step of saying, I got to prove myself as a teammate to my teammates, to our team, to the coaches, that I could be counted upon, not just to make a catch and make an explosive play, but to be a guy that can make good choices and decisions, control my emotions, and be productive in every sense of the word. I think all these guys are capable returners as well. I think Isaiah Horton's had, of all the players on our team, I think Isaiah Horton and probably Wesley Bassant, Markel Bell were three guys that in the spring just took a massive leap in terms of, okay, these guys are playing. These guys have to play to make us better. JoJo Trader has gained about 15 pounds. I used to always mess with him about how skinny his legs are. Now he looks like a Power 5 wide receiver, and what he's doing out there right now is he's going to play this year and going to help us in a big-time way. Nikar is another guy, just fast, explosive, hard worker, gets after it. Shamar Kirk's had a good one. Ray Joseph continues to get better, and then the addition of Sam Brown, who now is, a guy that just an explosive playmaker that's on the bigger side.
Yeah.
Right. He's got a lot of elite traits, and we feel his best football's ahead of him as well. So, Cam Ward is going to have not only a really good quarterback room that keeps him on edge, he's going to have a lot of guys around him that have a lot of experience, and you're going to need that, man, especially early in the season when you got to play in those kinds of environments.
Yeah, can't wait to see it come all together, and just the blips that we did get to see that was televised in the spring game, but I'm sure every single day you're just sitting there like, wow, like these are some pieces. These are some guys. And we'll get to see that sooner than later. Another side of that ball on the defense, because we do have to play that. I know we're all offensive people here. But you guys loaded up on the D-line. In the portal, bunch of 5 stars from the high school ranks. But let's start with Ruben Bain, and you can touch on all those guys. It just feels like he has a chance to take it to another level because of those additions, because other people are going to be playing to the standard you expect. You can't just slide to that guy. You can't just double team him, and he's going to eat because everyone else is.
He does, and I think now that room is starting to look more and more like what we want it to look, or it's guys that are willing to just give it up for the team. A guy heading into a sophomore year that got so much attention as a freshman, you have to be that much better. You have to work that much harder. You're not going to sneak up on anybody. So we challenge him and we push him, and him working against Francis and working against Sampson and Jalen Rivers and Markel, that does wonders for his game. I mean, iron sharpens iron is a real thing here, and there's been, several additions, both high school and from the portal, that we've ramped up what we look like athletically, what we look like anatomically at that position, and mentality. And that's the part, honestly, besides the other, you see some body types there that we haven't had before, but the mentality to play hard on every down is the part I'm most excited about, because we get more production out of our front. We could really be, we're top 25 defense last year. We could go much higher.
Yeah. And then, of course, with Maui Noah there, kind of as your heart and soul defensively, assuming he's also been able to take some leadership steps. I mean, it feels like every guy we've talked about with you, at least the big names, you say, oh, they're on the council, they're doing this. What have you seen from Maui Noah?
He's on the council.
There you go. I knew it. I could tell.
He's on the council. It all starts with the way he was raised, him and his brother. Those guys are they're different. They're different because their hunger, their drive it's unique. And so, and he's always had a chip on his shoulder. He came here with a chip on his shoulder. And all you see from him is just improvements in all areas of his game, of his body. He's probably too big right now. He's 245 right now. He's probably more better off at 238, in that range right there. But has improved his explosiveness, his power. He's really healthy right now, which he hasn't been in maybe 3 years. But that shows you how tough he is. He's never complained about being banged up when he was out at Washington State all the way till he got over here. And he's ready to go. He's ready to have he's ready to win at a different level. Besides, I don't think guys like that, if you ask him, he's not gonna he's not going to ramble on about personal accolades. He's going to talk about team.
Yeah. How is Coach G going into this next year with these additions and with these guys, some guys that are still to come maybe or just got there. How do you expect him to change? Maybe the way he calls it and with exotic stuff, and when you have people who have been in the program. I mean, we talk about players all the time, but there's steps to be had from coaches as well.
Well, I think now he has, the familiarity of knowing what certain guys can do well and maybe things we don't do as well, what to add, what to take out, how to, adjust, contort things a little bit. And then the addition of all these new guys getting a feel for what they can bring to the table as well. And there's a level of excitement when you install. And when you install in year one, those meetings are twice as long. When you install year two, with the familiarity that the players have with the system, they're spitting out, right, the answers, right? They're finishing your sentences for you. So not like you ignore it, you don't skip the steps, but you can certainly, you can sharpen and polish off the things that and you could really now start complementing those things because there's a conceptual understanding of what we're trying to do. So all that stuff is exciting. The senior leadership of a guy like Kiko, and now Ruben, I tell those guys, I tell freshmen, because of where our starting point at Miami, freshmen got to come in as sophomores, you got to play like juniors. It's just, that's our starting point. That's when we got here. Unfortunately, that's where the roster, what it was missing. And therefore we have to accelerate. And I think a year two coordinator can accelerate things a little bit without skipping steps.
Coach, the elephant in the room, maybe, we'll see how you feel about it, is kind of this hype. There's so much hype right now with Miami, and Miami's always discussed in the offseason. It's Miami. It's the U. Of course, people are going to talk about Miami, but it just feels like now people are saying, I mean, look at what this team, look at this construction, look at what they could possibly do. Are you just blocking that out? Are you using it to motivate? How are you handling that?
Well, I really don't feel it because my days are kind of like groundhog. They start just keep overlapping with each other. I mean, I think that that we know we've been getting better. We know that we have been working relentlessly and that there's constant progress. And we also know that before we go and do anything and beat anybody, we got to really, truly know and understand what it is to be a Miami Hurricane, right? Eric, I mean, when you play at a place, and you get a chance to go back, one of the best things you can do is educate and teach. Okay, why are you here as a Miami Hurricane? And the alumni and some really creative work by our teams we're starting to understand, what really started Miami to become a team that was a dynasty for a couple of decades and whatnot, and really launched it, to be just a really, unique and prominent, nationally prominent team. And it's all about the work, every single bit of it, and with that comes a lot of responsibility. Yeah. And from Michael Irvin to Andre Johnson to Greg Olson, Dan Morgan, I could go on and on and on. They've been taking time to speak to our guys, and not rah-rah speeches, educational pieces, like right between the eyes, right in the heart, about let's not go back. We're not going back in time. We're moving forward. Okay. We've all come here from all these different places. I came back from the other side of the country because it's always been Miami for us. And that's fine, but we're not going to slogan it, tweet it, put it on a t-shirt. We just got to work. We got to keep our mouths shut and work and go prove to ourselves that we're continuing to progress and that we're becoming a really, really good football team that could win on Saturday.
I love that, man. I know you're not trying to, but you're getting me fired up just thinking about that and just what it means. And I can only imagine the feeling every single day, responsibility, burden, but also a lot of excitement that a former player that I am the leader of this program. And I know you take that with great responsibility and great pride. Let's look at the schedule for a second, Coach, because, we're kicking things off in a hurry. We're going to the swamp. When you start that way, is there a different sense of urgency? Because we're not easing into this thing. We're going. We're full steam ahead. What do you expect? And is it another level now? All camp, like the intensity. If it wasn't already, it's got to be at 10.
Well, the urgency is January, this past January, and spring football and every workout, because the week of, I mean, if you become urgent that week, you know how that goes, right? Especially as the big guys up front. So we know we play a great schedule, but the entire focus to present ourselves and finding out exactly what we're made of when that time does come, man, this thing right here better look like game day every day. All these player-led practices need to look like that, you know? I mean, truly challenging and pushing ourselves, coming out here with intention and purpose and making standards action, not just, tweets and interviews. That's where it is, because that will lead to a great camp. Us leaving here in another, what is it, 6.5 weeks, being in the best shape we can be, as strong as we can be, being ready to practice as hard and as well as we can, will lead us to a great camp. It's going to be very challenging, right? And then camp, as we approach, those 12 days out before game one, that's when it switches to opponent one. Between now and then, is it always there? Of course it is. I mean, it'd be crazy to try to fake it and say that, oh, you don't think about your schedule, who you're playing. No, it's nonsense. But don't base your day and your intentions on what's down there, and just don't get tripped up on what you really have to do to be successful on those days.
I appreciate the honesty, coach, because some coaches would say, I don't even know who we play week one. And you guys know, who you play week one. When it comes to some of the new stuff we have, iPads on the sidelines, coach to player communication in the helmets, how have you been introducing that with your team and managing that?
Told all those GAs and analysts, we don't need you anymore, man. You're gone.
Thanks for playing.
Right. No, it's certainly it is a big help. I think the best part is analysts being able to coach. And the reason I say that is we need more people that are good for young people, right? I believe that in college football and the pros. I mean, they already have a skill set that it's getting polished and enhanced some, but not fully developed, like grassroots type development. So, and if they start coaching college football and they haven't been on the grass and coaching and hands-on and helping to run meetings and getting on the road and recruiting, which that part's not there yet, they haven't done that. I mean, are they really helping elevate young people at what they're trying to get really good at and form a career out of? So I think that's great. I think the technology stuff is great as well. Got to be really organized, got to be prepared for glitches, got to be prepared for outages, because that's going to happen, right? It's, come on. How many games before? Oh, sorry, the other team's systems are down. You got to take yours down too, and you better be ready, so prepare for everything. And that's what we do, certainly, again, the environments we're going to play in are going to be challenging. So technology is awesome. We use it to a T. We practice using it. I got, fingers like sausage links, so I have a tough time a little bit with that. But, my dudes help me out and able to navigate that stuff. It's been really helpful. And as an offensive lineman, man, to be able to get an end zone shot and review some stuff quickly before getting back out there and without confusing ourselves too much, right? It's going to be a really unique
my favorite thing for those offensive linemen specifically is they do not have to come over to the sideline, and you coaches never get anything wrong, but sometimes, and there's something drawn up that was not what was on the field at all. We get to just see it. We get to know right now, and we can't lie to you either, because you're going to see what we see too. Coach, we're excited. We're jacked up. Have a great summer, man. Thank you for your time always, and can't wait to see you soon.
Appreciate you guys, man. God bless.
Thanks again to Coach Cristobal. Again, my apologies, sir. But we really appreciate your time. I feel like we landed the plane, we finished the interview, and I still do really want to try that Cuban coffee.
You have to. You need to. You know what would have been funny? If you would have messed it up again right here. I would have just died laughing. If it was just showing your head. It's like the yips.
It's like the thought in my brain. I had the thought. I was like, Cuban.
Is it?
Cuban.
Okay. What is it?
Cuban. It's Cuban coffee. Mac, Miami went 7-6 last year, 3-5 in the ACC. They lost to Rutgers in their bowl game. It's it's hard to imagine that this team did that. However, they brought in so many new pieces in the portal, and then the big pieces that they needed to keep, they kept. when you think of Ruben Bain and the Maui Noah brothers and all these different dudes.
Yeah.
Xavier Restrepo's back for his 17th season at Miami. Cam Ward,
Is he
Damien
that old?
Martinez.
We need to see how old Xavier
I
is.
feel like he's been there for a long time, Matt.
Yeah. He
Restrepo's
looks
been
kind of
there for
old
a
in his
minute.
picture. He looks kind of old.
But you need that. You need those veteran guys that have been there, that know the culture to bring in some of your transfers. And
Yeah.
Mac, you know what? I'm going to start here because we never start here in these podcasts. Tell me how you feel about this offensive line. Yeah, you knew you read my mind. Tell me how you feel about this offensive line.
I am ecstatic, KG. And here's the deal. Let me quickly pull this up. I think that this episode comes out the day that we are there. Looking at it, Cristobal, Thursday, August 8th. Close. I think that's when we're in Miami. So you guys are hearing my thoughts strictly on seeing Jalen Rivers at Media Day, remembering what Francis Mauigoa looks like in my head as a baby, as a true freshman, and just talking to Coach Cristobal here in a Media Day. You do not get to see the true reaction once I see everybody. And maybe we'll do something else. Maybe we'll revisit.
You should
later
just do a selfie video from down there because you're
we'll
going to be
edit it and put it in here. I'm going to be salivating because Coach Cristobal looked me dead in my face and said, we are averaging 330 on the offensive line. We are averaging 6'5", 6'6" on the offensive line. This has the chance to be one of the best in the entire country, KG. Because they're just bigger. They're bigger, stronger, better. They're going to bully you. They're going to mash you off the ball. And then you've got big, massive Mark Fletcher and Martinez coming right at your face. That's what's going to happen here. And it's going to be brutal. It's going to be trench warfare where these guys are going to try to annihilate you. And I think you need that. And I feel bad for some of the teams on the schedule because that's what's coming. That's what's going to happen here. And I just can't wait to see it. Francis Mauigoa is a monster. I mean, that dude is 345 pounds with probably like a 4-pack. I mean, that's crazy. That's outrageous. When I saw Jalen Rivers in person, he was in like a workout clothes, KG, and this dude is 6'6", probably 330, 335, and like ripped to shreds. And I'm just looking at them like, what is going to happen to other people that line up across from you? You're about to get incinerated. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. He's playing left tackle this year. I cannot wait to see it. I really can't. And there's not a weakness. You've got another true sophomore, maybe a redshirt freshman at left guard that, Coach, if you remember a year ago, and I can't remember if this was on the thing or if this was just he and I talking in person, he thought he was the most made-ready offensive lineman they have ever seen coming in. And they just wanted to sit him. Just saying, we'll just let him rest, and we'll get him for 4 straight years starting if he wants to stay that long. And Samson, big Samson there. So I can't wait to see it, KG. These dudes are going to be monsters in the middle.
And basically, all that to say is Cam Ward is going to have time. He's going to have protection.
Yeah.
He has a run game. He's going to have quite a few wide receivers when you look at Restrepo and Jacoby George and other names.
Yeah.
I am so intrigued with Cam Ward because we have seen it's not new. Like we've seen transfer quarterbacks come in and make an impact right away. I think he can without a doubt do that. And Mac, I was thinking about this. Think of the programs that we say, okay, well, when are they going to be back? Right. A lot of them, two I'm thinking of in particular, have come back recently. And to me, part of the reason is because they can use the portal. You're no longer reliant on recruiting and, let's say you miss or whatever, because that used to happen to some of these programs.
Right.
You can fix that. And that's part of what I think Miami can do right now with the portal. Programs that have come back, Texas, there's no longer saying, Texas is back. Florida State, they were gone for a while. They're back because of the portal. I think it makes a huge difference. And I think Miami won the portal this offseason. Cam Ward, Damien Martinez, so many names there. I think the offense is going to be legit. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. And the biggest difference for me, from the people who are going to say for the entire time until kickoff happens, we're so tired of hearing Miami's back. We hear it all the time. The biggest difference is it
can't be your only excuse though, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the biggest difference to me is that 5 minutes we just spent talking about the offensive line. They've never had that type of talent in a long time. Plus the dynamic freakazoid at cornerback that you do and Cam Ward. I mean, it's going to be so much fun to watch that kind of marry together. And Cam was a guy at Media Day, just like a silent confidence, OG, I'm going to be here and I'm going to make you look silly. I mean, that's kind of the vibe that he just had. Wasn't full of himself. All this money's thrown around, or talk of all this money,
Yeah.
all these things that come with it. And you would never get that. You would never get that vibe at all, which I think is fantastic. And then you talk of the weapons, bringing in Samuel Brown from Houston, from West Virginia,
Mhm.
the speedster that can take the top off immediately to kind of be, again, with those established guys. You got a handful of freshmen in Trader and Carr that I think are playing like now, like they're not waiting. Those guys are going to get their opportunity. And it's all about production. I mean, the one thing, KG, that love it, like it, hate it, whatever about Coach Cristobal is they're all about production. You're either in or you're out. You're either
Yeah.
good enough or you're not. And if you are, you're going to play and you're going to make stuff happen. It's very transparent and very self-aware quickly on where people stand. And so I've got high expectations for those guys as well. But to me, it all goes back to that offensive line and the dominant run game that I think that we can see. I mean,
Mm.
if Miami doesn't average 150 yards rushing a game, something bad happened. And maybe it's closer to 200. That's how good I think this team can be.
Oof. And then when you look at the defense, Mac, I mean, this pass rush is going to be fantastic. Ruben Bain, Maui, no, like these guys
Yeah.
are just monsters. I'm excited to see the next year, the sophomore year of Ruben Bain,
Yeah.
because him as a freshman was terrifying.
Yeah.
I would say maybe the big question with Miami is perhaps the secondary. You lose Cam Kinchins, you lose quite a few pieces there.
Yeah.
So that could be a question mark. But I still think the defense is loaded. Like there's a reason why we're saying this is the best roster in the ACC.
Right. And I think, quite frankly, the front seven eliminates that. They're going to have to speed. They're going to speed everything up for opposing quarterbacks. You mentioned, Bain there. You bring in Tyler Barron from Tennessee via Louisville for like a week. You bring Akeem Amezador, hopefully is healthy and back. I mean, that's a piece. That's a piece, KG, that I think he can kind of be the secret weapon, because we kind of know about everybody else, and there's going to be so much attention on Bain. But if that guy can get back to what he was, 2 years ago, before he's just been riddled with these injuries, he's a freak nasty and just a really good dude. And then, oh, by the way, there's 3 5-star defensive linemen that we got in the last year's cycle that are salivating at the mouth to go play and are ready to go. So the D line is stacked. And while I'm doing these, by the ways, I forgot to mention Elijah Alston, who just was a freak show at Marshall, who's coming in to be a rush specialist and a dynamic player. So I think that front seven is going to be really nasty. There's great competitive depth. And you're right. I mean, there's going to have to be some guys that step up in the secondary. But what I imagine happens is, because of the speed and some urgency that is going to be created, with the front four specifically, that's going to help the back seven figure it out and potentially, hopefully, make some plays on the football.
Let's look at the schedule. The win total, by the way, for Miami is at 9.5. I don't know the last time it was that high. That's really, really interesting and exciting.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking at with this win total. The 2 highest win totals in the ACC going into the season are Florida State and Miami, both at 9.5. I have seen Clemson dropping in most books to 8.5. So we'll just get that out there. So when you look at 9.5 back, you start at Florida. I mean, Florida is not better than you, point blank. Like, we know that. But that game is huge for so many reasons.
Yeah.
It's in the swamp. We know the Florida-Miami stuff. Like, it's massive. You have Virginia Tech on the schedule. You have Florida State on the schedule. Both those games are at home. That is lovely for Miami. You do have Louisville. You got at Syracuse at the end of the year. That could be interesting. But I see a manageable schedule. It all kind of depends, though, weirdly, on that first game. I think you have to set the tone in game one, Mac.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question the magnitude of that game, and everybody understands that, right? Like, it's for state pride, it's for recruiting battles, it's for football, just prowess. And I think Florida, quite frankly, is going to be bad. I really do. But you have to go into the
They were
swamp
last year
on 3:30 in the afternoon in August and get a
Ugh.
dub. And we're going to see a lot of potential growth and maturity from Miami if they can go and do that. And again, I lean back to the offensive line, the run game, the dominant, both sides of the line of scrimmage, the defensive line as well. All 3 of those have to dominate. All three of those have to exert their will, and then you hope the other pieces shine and are able to really make some noise there. But I'm with you. I don't think there's any question how dramatically important that is, because really what you're looking at is one of, if not the ACC's best against a mediocre to bad SEC team. It's a lot similar to Vandy and Virginia Tech. You just got to go dominate. I mean, that you got to set the tone. You got to fly the flag for the conference, because if you don't, you're not giving me a lot of ground to stand on, and it's going to be an awkward, unsettling season. So for me, please get it done. Okay, that's all I'm asking for. That's all I'm asking for.
Mac, Miami fans are going to love that you just compared Florida to Vanderbilt. I'm just going to leave that there.
Take care of
What
business.
do we feel about? Yeah, there you go. What do we feel about the win total, Mac? I feel like people just always want to say, don't do it. Don't buy into it with Miami. I'm just looking at facts. I see it. The most talented roster in the league. I see a somewhat manageable schedule. I see a 9.5. I'm taking the over. I'm taking the over with Miami here.
I'm right there with you. Well, there's been a lot of excitement recently with these episodes that we're doing, KG, and I'm keeping this train going. A lot like Virginia Tech. When you look at the schedule and the way that it shapes out, you better be undefeated when that game comes around. That Friday night game, Virginia Tech comes to town. That needs to be game day vibes. I know it's a Friday. Game day will not be there, but it needs to be a top 20, not just top 25, top 20 matchup when it comes to big boys clashing. And again, it's early, but is that setting the tone for who's going to have the leg up for the ACC championship? I think it's that big of a deal. And, you talk about playoff, you talk about championships, that's going to be a huge test. You got to get it done.
Mac, I feel like you had some Cuban coffee before this episode, because you have been hyped, specifically Cuban coffee, and I love it. I can't wait. And I really want to try some of that, but I don't think I helped myself. I need to get back in Mario's good graces.
Yeah. Maybe we'll bring some back to you. Here we go. All I know is there's a full offensive line review coming soon. I'm so excited I can't even get it out.
Yes.
Coming after I watch these guys in person. Can't wait to see the Canes. Need them to be good. Need them to take care of business. We also need you, kind Hurricane, to come over, subscribe to the channel, drop some comments. Tell us about this team. Tell us what you think. Are we on the right page? Are the line of scrimmages and elite quarterback play the biggest difference that you see? Why this team is different from years recently with the Miami Hurricanes? We also need you to go over to YouTube, subscribe, but also the OGs over on Apple Podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe there as well. We would greatly appreciate that. But until next time, we'll see y'all.